Okay. Hey there, all you fellow gamers and meme creators. Michael the Meme King back again for another Man vs. History reaction video. And today we're reacting to historical accuracy of fishing in Red Dead Online. So, yesterday I posted the historical accuracy of saloons and I think it was, what was the other one? I think it was oh wait, hang on. It was okay, hang on, it's right here. It was historical accuracy of saloons in Red Dead Online, and then it was historical accuracy of buffalo hunting. So I had to delete that video because the audio was messing up, and someone in the comments pointed that out. If you saw my quick reminder video, you'll know that I stated out why it was deleted. I'm gonna put the link to both videos in the description so you can check out those videos, because I'm not gonna make another reaction video on the same thing. So I'll just put the links to the two videos so that way you guys can react to it. And yeah, so I'm gonna quickly full screen this, and yeah, this is a 10-minute video. I'm probably gonna react to another one right after this one, so I can make this maybe like a 29-minute, somewhere between 29, because this one's 10. I know there's another one that's like 19, so I'll probably react to 2. Yeah, I'll probably do that. So like and subscribe if you're not already. Check out Man vs. History's video and his channel. I'll put links in the description so you can quickly get to it. So if you are interested in finding Man vs. History's channel and for whatever reason can't find it, it's just going to be in the description. You just have to check down below. And if you're watching this from a computer, then all you have to do is it should be right here, but if there's more to it, then you click show more. But I know for some, if you're using a phone, then I think it has like a little down arrow. So you just click that and then it shows the description. So that's all you have to do for how to get to a description in videos. So just check that. Just check the description for the links. It'll all be there. And I'm going to look back on this video to make sure the audio is correct. I'm going to try and figure out the problem. But it could just be a mistake. It could just, my microphone could have messed up. So far, it seems fine. The chords are all fine. Hang on. I'm going to unplug it and then re-plug it in. Okay. So I did that, and I'm going to see how this goes.
All right, everybody, we're back again. This time we're going to be looking at the historical accuracy of fishing in Red Dead Online. Now, I've been pumped to do this video for a really long time because fishing is just a huge part of my life. Whether it's annual trips up to Northern Ontario for trophy pike fishing, or weekly excursions locally here in the lakes and the rivers of Colorado. Now, even though I've done it my entire life, I'm not going to be getting into things like the species or really the habitat or anything like that, whether that's accurate. We'll leave that to the experts. Instead, I'm going to be assessing things like the historical accuracy of the rod, the reel, lures, you name it. All right, let's dive in. Now, as I dug through the archives for this week's video, I came across some very interesting stuff, as usual. In an article in the Western Gazette, an angler fishing in the Plata River in Puerto Rico died after he caught a fish that was, quote, so small that he attempted to kill it, biting off its head. The fish, however, jumped into his throat and the man choked to death. According to the Hartlepool Northern Daily Mail, a man accidentally killed himself trying to blow up fish with explosives. In an 1872 article in the Dundee People's Journal, a man fishing on the banks of a river was killed when struck by lightning. In an 1890 article in the Derby Telegraph, a man was killed in a dispute with another man over fishing rights. In a New York Times article in 1898, a 14-year-old boy was fishing under a trestle in New Jersey when a train car full of boulders came off the tracks, tipped over, and crushed him. Now, as tragic as these stories are, there is a common theme that runs through them, and that is, historically, many people have been killed while fishing. But there's absolutely no evidence that any of them were shot in the back by a griefer while doing it. So not only does that make you a horrible person, but if you shoot somebody in the back when fishing, it's also historically inaccurate, which, to me, is even worse. But I digress. Let's talk about the equipment. In 1898, fishing poles were made of cane, lancewood, ash, steel, and bamboo, which just so happens to be what a rod is made of in Red Dead Online. So the rod material is historically accurate for the time period. As for the rod being collapsible, also historically accurate. According to the 1898 Sears catalog, fish rods are too long to be sent by mail, hence the necessity of having them in pieces. In the 1800s, these were called trunk rods, as they were short enough to be carried in wooden traveler trunks when disassembled. The bamboo rod in the game is a 4-piece rod, which looks remarkably similar to a 4-piece rod in the Sears catalog, called the fine bamboo bait casting rod, which retails for $1.65. Now, according to the Wheeler & Rawson catalog, the reel used in Red Dead Online is simply described as being nickel-plated. This is also historically accurate, as most reels in the Sears catalog were also nickel-plated during this period. And while the reel doesn't match a particular model, the closest I could find is the double multiplying reel, nickel-plated, for $1.15. Fishing line in the 1800s was made from cotton, linen, or silk, priced in that order from cheap to expensive. And while you could purchase components individually, a rigged line consisting of line, hook, sinker, and a float, which most of us now call bobbers, cost a total of 15 cents. So if you combine the cost of the rod, reel, and rigged line, the historic 1898 price for the full fishing setup would be about $3. The Red Dead Online price is $32.50. Crunching the numbers, the Red Dead Online markup comes out to about 983%. Moving on to the lures. Some of the lures look remarkably similar to items in the Sears catalog. Take, for instance, Wheeler & Rawson's spinner, mirroring the Sears catalog's American spinner, and the swamp lure looking quite similar to the beetle lure. But others, like the river lure, can't say it. But others, like the river lure, don't look like anything available. Price-wise, there are discrepancies as well. Red Dead Online swamp lure costs $2.50, while the Sears Beetle costs 11 cents, equating to a 2,173% online markup. Red Dead Online spinner costs $15, while the Sears spinner costs 19 cents, equating to a 7,795% online markup. We also see such markups with special lures, which retail in Red Dead Online for $20. The most expensive lure I could find in 1898 was the musky trolling minnow, and that sold for just $1.22, which, by the way, is 3 times the price of the next most expensive lure in the Sears catalog. Now, if we assume that the musky trolling minnow is a representation of a special lure from Wheeler & Rawson, we're left with an online markup of 1,539%. So just like we've seen in other videos, prices for things like fishing gear are pretty inflated. Now, as for the value of fish themselves, this is actually pretty interesting. I was able to locate a U.S. congressional report that provided averages of fresh fish prices between the years 1890 and 1903. There were, of course, some limited price fluctuations between species, such as catfish and bass selling for 12.5 cents a pound, salmon sold for 10, and perch sold for around 9. But most fish being sold fresh, that were freshwater fish, like in the game, sold between 8.5 and 12.5 cents a pound. And that's for the whole fish, not just the fillet. Now in Red Dead Online, we don't get paid per pound, but rather per fish. So when you do the math on something like the sockeye salmon, weighing say 4 pounds apiece, we should only really be getting paid about 40 cents per fish. Instead, we're being paid $2.50, which means that we're actually getting paid 525% more than we should. Don't tell Rockstar. Even for the bigger fish, I believe Rockstar is really overpaying us. Let's take the muskie, for instance. If we estimate that the 1898 value of a muskie is 8.5 cents a pound, and your average muskie in the game is, say, 18 pounds, that fish should only be worth about $1.50. But Rockstar pays us $7.75 per muskie. So we're really getting paid 417% more than we actually should be. Now, while I haven't run the numbers on the other fish, my guess would be that we're making off with more than we deserve, or at least historically. Again, don't tell Rockstar. Now, some of you, particularly you fishermen that are out there, might be...
Yeah, that's right. All of you that play Red Dead Online, don't tell Rockstar about this. Let us have this gift. Let us have this gift of being overpaid for something that we probably don't deserve. Don't tell them, or I'll come for your soul. Anyway.
Looking at our characters in the game and wondering if they're holding the rod and reel correctly. I know that when I saw it, I thought, it doesn't really look exactly right. So if anybody else was thinking it, I kind of dug into this to see if I could come up with an answer for us. Now, you've got to understand, we're not fly fishing here. We're bait cast fishing. In the game, characters hold the reels facing down, whereas many of you that fish with bait casting reels are used to using them facing upwards. Now, to get some answers on this, I reached out to a guy named John Stevenson, and he's the vintage tackle specialist at Thomas Turner Fishing Antiques, which, if you don't know, is the world's oldest supplier of antique, vintage, and classic fishing tackle. And these guys were established all the way back in 1838. Now, he informed me that historically in the UK, reels were fished mainly with floats and sinkers, not so much with lures. As such, 90% of the time, the reels in the UK faced downwards. Now in the US, however, he said that we developed most of our freshwater fishing chasing large and smallmouth bass, so historically, fishing with lures using small baitcaster reels on top of the rod was the recognized style here in the States. James Henschel writes in his 1881 book called Book of the Black Bass that originally baitcasting reels were designed to be cast while positioned on top of rods, and then spun upside down to facilitate the turning of the handle. However, most users typically chose to keep reels atop the rods while casting and retrieving by transferring rods to their left-hand sides for retrieval, and thereafter winding the crank handle backwards. As a result of the preference, manufacturers then decided to fix crank handles on the right side of the bait casting reels, with universal clockwise crank handle revolution. So by 1898, most bait casting reels would have reflected this. So taking all this into account, the animation should have characters cast and retrieve with the reel up, or at least cast up, then rotate and retrieve with the reel down. Now, is this a big deal? No, not really. And I'm sure it would function just fine with the reel facing down. Now, regardless of all this, Rockstar still put together a great fishing experience in the game. That is, for the most part, historically accurate as well. I particularly want to point out the awesome detail, the fish coloration, and the subtle movements when holding them. Simply put, they look fantastic, and the pike in particular makes me feel like I'm back in Canada. Now, if we could only do something about those historically inaccurate fishing griefers, then we'd be set. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. I can't believe the growth that we're getting. It's absolutely fantastic. It's super motivating for me. I'll do my best to keep supplying the historical education and entertainment. You just do your part by letting me know down in the comments what you want me to look at. Now, before you leave, please make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button on your way out. Thank you folks so much. We'll see you next time.
All right, so real quick, I'm going to go to another one of his videos, but I'm going to try out a feature here on Zoom. It allows me to pause the recording, so for me, it's going to take as long as I need, but for you guys, it should only be a second. So see you soon. Okay, welcome back. This is historical accuracy of hunting and trading in Red Dead Online. Of course, it's made by the same guy. So I'm going to get straight into this right now.
What is up, everybody? So, if you can't tell, we're at a different location because I'm visiting family, and it turns out that my dad has the same decorating style as I do. So we're going to be filming here this week. So let's talk about hunting. Historically, whether we're looking at Australopithecus or Homo erectus, hunting was the universal male rite of passage that proved that a male was able to become a provider and therefore a suitable mate. Simply put, it ushered boys into manhood. In fact, we've only had a sliver of human history when hunting hasn't been the template for male initiation. With the rise of agriculture, a dependable food source, humans began hunting less, and war became more common. But war is different than hunting. For many boys who went off to war came back as broken men. or never came back at all. Sadly today, hunting remains uncommon, as many of us live in urban centers, disconnected from this activity that we've been programmed to carry out since the beginning of time. Luckily for us, Red Dead Redemption 2 now offers a hunting outlet, simulated of course, which lies at the core of the trader role in Red Dead Online. And while it might not initiate you into manhood, it's actually a pretty fun experience. Let me begin by saying that hunting is far and away my favorite thing to do in Red Dead Online. And while you may get smoked by a griefer, killed by a predator in the process, you should know that historically, it was no less dangerous. Let's go to the archives. When hunting, one can be killed by another hunter, such as this 1898 instance where a man was killed by his friend after he was mistaken for a turkey and shot through the brain. One can be killed by animals, such as this article where a bear hunter's badly mangled body was found at the mouth of a cave beside 2 dead grizzlies. Let's just pause for a moment to appreciate the awesomeness of the way this guy went out. Alright, let's continue. One hunter was crushed to death when he treed a raccoon, proceeded to chop down the tree, then was killed when the tree fell on top of him. Another hunter died by his own trap when he set a tripwire connected to his double-barrel shotgun. According to the article, quote, hearing the report of a gun, he ran to the trap supposing that both barrels had been discharged. He went directly to the bait, he struck the string, and instantly the other barrel of the gun was discharged, killing him. Apart from botched booby traps, hunters were killed by all sorts of negligent discharges. Some were killed by lightning, while others were killed by farmers when they were illegally hunting on private property. Suffice it to say, there was no shortage of ways one might be killed while out hunting. But in many ways, it's that hint of danger that makes it so much fun. And in this bubble-wrapped age of safetyism, when even water gun fights are banned by the Boy Scouts, that's actually true by the way, we could all use a little more dangerous fun, especially if it's evolutionarily ingrained. Now before we dive into the weeds on pelt prices, I just want to say that Rockstar did an amazing job of including an abundant variety of wildlife into the game, along with a lot of their unique quirks. Clearly they spent an incredible amount of time on these creatures, and it shows. And I'm definitely grateful for their efforts in this regard. While in my opinion they nailed the animals, when it comes to pelt prices, Rockstar's all over the place. Some pelts are incredibly close to the historical price, while others are wildly over or underpriced. While I'd love to tackle every animal in the game, I simply didn't have time. Instead, I dove into around 20 or so of the most popular, comparing the 1898 price to the Red Dead Online price. To accomplish this, I tracked down a copy of the 1898 Fur Trade Review Journal, volume 26, which lists the market value of tan furs and skins for a variety of species during the time. This list also separates prices by region, so as Red Dead incorporates several regions in its maps, I simply calculated out the average. It's also important to remember that the pelts we sell to the butcher are untanned raw pelts. The pelts that Crypt processes are tanned, hence the higher payout in the trader role. Therefore, we need to remember that the fresh skins would bring a much lower price than the tanned pelt prices that are quoted. Historically, one could expect no more than 50%, and that's really pushing it. In the interest of erring on the side of you folks wanting more information than less, I'll be giving you the 1898 tan price, the 1898 raw price, the Red Dead Online price, and the percentage markup or markdown between the two latter ones. Alright, let's begin. We'll start with black bears, which love to hang out in the yard right next to my man cave where I record all these videos. So walking back to my house at night is always entertaining. The little ones love to raid my trash at dusk like you see here, but after dark the big ones come on in. The other night a huge one jumped out of my trash can as I approached it, stood there staring at me for a few moments, then sauntered off into the woods. Other times you just get the lone cub meandering through the yard, so you need to be on the lookout for mama bear. It's all part of the experience of living in the mountains, and I love it. As for black bears in 1898, a pristine pelt from one of these animals fetched around $22.50 on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around $11.25 for a raw, untanned 3-star fur. In Red Dead Online, 3-star black bear skins sell for $3.50, which means that we're being paid about 221% less than the historical price. A tan, perfect grizzly bear pelt in 1898 was worth $18 on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around $9 for a raw, untanned 3-star fur. In Red Dead Online, 3-star grizzly bear skins sell for $7.50, which means that we're being paid about 20% less than the historical price. But that's not too bad. Let's talk beavers. Due to the historical significance of the beaver trade, I could, and just might, make an entire video solely on beaver hunting in Red Dead Online. But for now, we'll simply look at the price. In 1898, a pristine large beaver pelt was worth about $6. The hunter could expect to receive around $3 for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt, and in Red Dead Online, 3 3-star beaver pelts sell for $2.50, which is pretty dang close, as we're only getting paid about 20% less than the historical price. Next up is the Silver Fox. In 1898, a prime Silver Fox pelt fetched a whopping $80 on the open market. Yes, I said $80. Therefore, the hunter could expect to receive around $40 for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star Silver Fox pelts sell for $2.25, which means that we're being paid about 1,677% less than the historical price. Now, one might assume that since the Silver Fox is worth such a pretty penny, that the Red Fox must also be the same, but you'd be wrong. In fact, very wrong. The 1898 market price for a perfect Red Fox pelt was a mere $1.60. The hunter could expect to receive around 80 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star Red Fox pelts sell for $2.25, which means that we're being paid about 181% more than the historical price. Now to skunks. A perfect skunk pelt in 1898 would fetch 90 cents on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around 45 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star skunk pelts sell for 95 cents, which means that we're actually being paid about 111% more than the historical price. Moving on to raccoons, which make the greatest looking hats of all time. That's not even a debate. In 1898, a pristine raccoon pelt was worth 65 cents on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around 32 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star raccoon pelts sell for $1.20, which means that we're being paid about 275% more than the historical price. Next up is the muskrat. In 1898, a perfect muskrat pelt was worth $11.50. The hunter could expect to receive around $5.75 for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star muskrat pelts sell for $1.95, which means that we're being paid about 195% less than the historical price. A tan cougar skin in 1898 was worth about 40 cents on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around 20 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star skin. In Red Dead Online, 3-star cougar pelts, as you know, sell for $5, which means that we're being paid about 2,400% more than the historical price. Next up is the possum, which in 1898 in pristine condition was worth 18 cents. The hunter could expect to receive around 9 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star possum pelts sell for 90 cents, which means that we're being paid about 900% more than the historical price. Moving on to badgers. In 1898, a perfect badger pelt was worth 75 cents. The hunter could expect to receive around 37 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star badger pelts sell for $1.25, which means that we're being paid about 238% more than the historical price. Now to rabbits. Perfect rabbit pelt in 1898 would fetch a mere 2 cents on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around 1 whole cent for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star rabbit pelts sell for $1.15, which means that we're being paid an incredible 11,400% more than the historical price. Let's talk about wolves. In 1898, a perfect gray wolf pelt was worth 80 cents. The hunter could expect to receive around 40 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star gray wolf pelts sell for $1.50, which means that we're being paid about 275% more than the historical price. Timber wolf, on the other hand, is worth a bit more, though I've realized that many players in Red Dead Online didn't even know that timber wolves were in the game, as they never travel far enough north to actually find them. In 1898, a flawless timber wolf pelt would bring about $2.12. The hunter could expect to receive around $1.06 for a raw, untanned 3-star pelt. In Red Dead Online, 3-star timber wolf pelts sell for $1.50, which means that we're still being paid about 41% more than the historical price. All things considered, Rockstar isn't too far off here. Next up are elk, which not only love wandering through my yard, but also destroying my trees. In 1898, the skin of these majestic creatures had a market value of $1.40. The hunter could expect to receive around 70 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star skin. In Red Dead Online, 3-star elk skins sell for $6.50, which means that we're being paid about 832% more than the historical price. Now let's move on to deer. In 1898, a perfect deer skin was worth about 50 cents. The hunter could expect to receive around 25 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star skin, and in Red Dead Online, 3-star deer skins sell for $2.25, which which means that we're being paid about 809% more than the historical price. Just like in Red Dead Online, buckskins sold for more than deerskins in real life. In 1898, a prime tan buckskin was worth just a hair over $2 on the open market. The hunter could expect to receive around $1 for a raw, untanned 3-star skin. In Red Dead Online, 3-star buckskins sell for $3.25, which means that we're being paid about 221% more than the historical price. Then there's pronghorn skins, which in 1898 would fetch a market price of about 32 cents a piece. The hunter could expect to receive a mere 16 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star skin. In Red Dead Online, 3-star pronghorn skins sell for $2, which means that we're getting paid about 1,170% more than the historical price. Now there's also a handful of other animals that aren't on the Fur Trade Review's list, amongst those bison, moose, and alligator. Starting with bison. Some of you might be aware that when I first started making these videos, I put out an entire video about bison hunting in Red Dead Online, but I had to pull it in my heretofore fruitless quest towards monetization. At some point I'll be remaking and reposting it, so I don't want to spoil it by going into too much detail here about the history of bison hunting in the US, the state of bison population in 1898, etc. Suffice it to say, due to the slaughter of bison in the mid to late 1800s, it was illegal to hunt wild bison in 1898. If you were caught poaching one, you'd be fined $1,000 per head, and the government would confiscate your horse and all your guns. While I think it would be great to have as much historical accuracy obviously as possible, this is something that I'm fine if they just leave that out. The path to uncovering the value of a bison robe, the tan skin with the fur still on, required an immense amount of historical sleuthing, which I'll save for the bison hunting video. But in short, in 1898, a tan perfect bison robe would fetch about $50 minimum, likely even higher. The hunter, or in this case the poacher, could expect to receive around $25 for a raw, untanned 3-star robe. In Red Dead Online, 3-star bison robes sell for $5, which means that we're being paid about 400% less than the historical price. But it doesn't end there. When it comes to deer, bucks bring higher prices than does, but with buffalo, there is no difference between bulls and cows. But historically, there should be, as cow skins sold for about 20% more than bull skins. Alright, moving on to moose. Some of you have referred to the moose as the rarest animal in the game, and while buffalo were far rarer in 1898, the US's moose population had declined rapidly as well. According to the report of Commissioners of Inland Fisheries and Game for the state of Maine for the year 1898, quote, the number of moose in the United States is not large, for the region they inhabit is comparatively very small, yet they were once very numerous over a territory more than 20 times larger where they're found today. Likewise, the same report quotes a veteran hunter at the time who stated that, quote, it is my opinion, one gained by close observation and intimate knowledge of the facts, that moose are being rapidly exterminated, end quote. As such, Rockstar did well in making these animals as rare as they are. Of course, whether this was on purpose or just a coincidence, I'll let you decide. Regardless, moose hunting was still legal in the United States, and moose could still be found. According to an 1896 article in the New York Sun, quote, a good marksman who has 2 weeks of time and $200 to expend can safely rely on getting his moose. In 1898, a prime tan moose hide in perfect condition might fetch as high as $2.40 on the open market, though most would have sold for much less. The hunter could expect to receive around $1.20 for a raw, untanned 3-star skin. In Red Dead Online, a 3-star moose hide nets you about $7.50, which means that we're being paid about 525% more than we historically should be. Moving on to alligators. By the late 1800s, alligator skin became fashionable in the US and abroad, commonly being used in boots, bags, trunks, portfolios, gun cases, belts, and wallets. As such, many trappers sought to make an easy profit by hunting the largest, most visible alligators. According to Louisiana Department of Conservation's biennial report, the two methods primarily used to hunt alligators were shining and poling. Shining consisted of riding in a boat at night, shining a lamp into the darkness until alligators' eyes reflected the light back and gave away their location, after which they'd be promptly killed by a well-placed shotgun blast. Poling involved poking a pole into the depths until an alligator was found, whereupon it was coaxed to the surface by imitation of an alligator call, something sounding like when it broke the surface, the hunter would sink a hatchet into its head. Why, he just didn't shoot the alligator, Can't say, you're gonna have to just ask them. Alligator hunting became big business, and while some parishes imposed fines of $25 and a month-long incarceration upon those found to have killed an alligator, for the most part it remained a legal activity. As for price, in 1898, a prime tanned alligator hide, which would have been about 7 foot plus, fetched about 75 cents. The hunter could expect to receive around 37 cents for a raw, untanned 3-star hide. In Red Dead Online, a 3-star alligator skin can be sold to the butcher for $3.50. Therefore, we're being paid about 846% more than we historically should be. So in reflection, while there are a handful of pelts that Rockstar is vastly underpaying us for, overall we're being greatly overpaid for most. Likewise, the $625 paycheck we get for a large Trader wagon delivery is far too much. Though, just to be clear, I'm not complaining, just stating the facts. In 1898, we need to sell around 28 tanned, pristine black bear pelts to bring in that kind of money, or 35 grizzly bear pelts, or 104 beaver pelts, or 1,563 deer pelts. I'll stop there, but you get the idea. Simply put, the amount of materials we drop off to Cripps, the time it takes him to process those materials, and the finished goods derived from them simply couldn't add up to $625. But, of course, it's a game, and we know the economy has to be jimmied in order to keep things balanced. I don't have a problem with inflating the payouts. It's just that the prices and the payouts are inconsistent across the game. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, compare the cost of a can of beans to a gold watch, or simply watch my other videos. As for the Cripps Trader setup, Rockstar did a good job of making it pretty historically accurate. He's got a barrel of, presumably water, next to his table, which was needed to soak the skin if you wanted to remove the hair and turn it into a hide. The barrel was also necessary for brain tanning. Additionally, Cripps has 2 frames behind his table that were necessary in order to rack and lace the skins for drying. While you need a larger frame for big game animals, for instance 10 foot by 8 foot would be necessary for a moose, Rockstar still nailed these smaller ones, so good on them. I did notice, however, that the deer skin that's laced to the frame still has the fat and flesh on the back. Historically, a skin would have been fleshed before this step, using a beam or simply a smooth log propped up on one end, then scraped with a fleshing tool. I don't see any of these items around his work area, which is a bit of an oversight, but not a big issue. The oddest part of this whole operation, though, is that if you carefully watch Cripps, he just rubs the flesh side of the pelt over and over again with his bare hands, which isn't a thing unless you're a psycho. As for these supplies that we're always running out to get for Cripps, well, I'm not actually sure what these are. If we assume that Cripps is in fact tanning pelts and skins, he shouldn't need any additional materials because, as the old adage goes, every animal has enough brains to tan its own skin. Throughout human history, brain tanning was the most common way of tanning animal skins, evidenced by the abundance of broken skull plates across Paleolithic archaeological sites. Without going into too much of the science here, the lipid breakdown of animal brains provides nature's perfect solution for penetrating and expanding the microfibers of skin and holding them open for the hide to remain soft and flexible without turning hard again. But maybe Cripps isn't brain tanning hides, which, while historically unlikely, is possible. In this case, in 1898, he'd be using chromium, utilized by all large tanneries during that era. Perhaps that's what we're picking up in those barrels on some of our supply runs. Perhaps Rockstar did their research and intended this, in which case, well done. Or perhaps I'm just giving them too much credit. I'll let you decide. Overall, I still think that Rockstar did a great job of getting the feeling of the hunting and trading correct. Sure, the prices were all over the place and mostly historically inaccurate, but it works in our favor, so I can't complain too much. And while I'd love to see trapping added, the trader roll is a good first step in sort of dipping our toes into the fur trade at the turn of the century. Let's hope they expand on it. As many of you know, this channel is not monetized, so if you do enjoy the videos, you want to support this channel and support my work, please consider donating on Patreon. You can find that link down in the description. Thank you, folks. As always, got to give a huge shout out to my bronze and silver.
So yeah, that has been my reaction to Man versus History's videos. Tell me what you guys think. I still have some things on the watch list that I have to react to. I still have quite a few of his videos, but hopefully the audio was good. I'm gonna look back and check to make sure. But other than that, like and subscribe if you're not already. Comment the video, tell me what you think, and I'll see you for the next one.